hoping this is on. Yes, okay. We're all saying good morning to each other, so I'll say again to the whole congregation, good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church's in-person and online worship. Whether today is your first time here or you've been coming for years, we are so glad you're with us. I think in the order of service it says I'm Barb Murray. It would be an honor, but I am not Barb Murray. My name is actually Caroline Marsden. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm serving as the worship associate today. We are growing a community that transforms lives through the power of love. Our mission calls us to celebrate diversity, encourage spiritual growth, and promote social responsibility while we travel on and care for the earth. A special welcome to those at home who are joining us on Zoom today. If you're attending for the first time, please go to our website and fill out the welcome card so we can know more about you. Now I invite you all to take this opportunity to silence your cell phones so that we can be fully present to one another. After the service, please grab a cup of coffee or tea in the kitchen window and stay for conversation in the sanctuary. Or head down to the end of the long hallway to join a group for the brown bag lunch. Those on Zoom may stay and connect with one another. And now let us center our hearts and minds with the ringing of the chimes.
Good morning. It is good to be together. I am Reverend Tara. I use they, them pronouns, and I serve as the minister of this congregation, Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church, or A2U2 for short, not R2D2. I'm still getting it too. I need a laugh today. It's been a week. We gather today, after quite a week, in the life of this nation. However you are and whatever you are carrying this morning, I am delighted that you are here. Today is the third and final Sunday in our 3-week journey in worship that attempts to answer the question, what is the role of the church in these times? Week 1, the role of the church is to be a balm. Week 2 was to be a bridge. And today, to be a beacon. How might we, the church, be a beacon of conscience, justice, and love in this weary world where so many are looking for a guide? Where have we been afraid to own who we are and what we are about? And how might we share our values more freely? After the lamplighting ritual this morning, our children and youth will join Emily and Emily down the long hallway for an RE session focusing on the core Unitarian Universalist value at the center of all the others, which is love. As the president of our Unitarian Universalist Association, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt wrote to us in a press release this week, we Unitarian Universalists are people with diverse identities, stories, and experiences. Yet we are personally, theologically, and covenantally bound together by the expansive love that has always been the animating center of our faith. Far more powerful than any faction, leader, nation, or creed, it is this fierce love that compels our deepest loyalty and our most courageous action. And it is this love that moves through and between each of us, enabling us to nurture wisdom, guidance, courage, and grounding in ourselves and one another. So, friends, it is in the spirit of this love that I say, whoever you are and wherever you are on your life's journey, welcome. You are joyfully called to worship.
As we light our sanctuary chalice this morning, those joining on Zoom are invited to light a chalice or candle near you to connect us more deeply with one another. The chalice, as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism, arose as a beacon of hope in an atmosphere of tyranny. The chalice arose as a sign of promise that the marginalized would neither be forgotten nor ignored, because they are beloved and precious in the eyes of the holy. This morning, we remember all of the people who have been told explicitly or implicitly through police violence or government policy, through derision or dehumanization, that they're anything less than whole, anything less than beloved. As we light this chalice, may we make of our lives a beacon, a symbol of our promise to draw the circle wider, a sign that we will not rest until all means all.
And we light a second candle this morning, a candle of community, today affirming three truths. First, that immigrant, refugee, and asylum-seeking individuals and families, regardless of their citizenship status, are as much a part of our community as anyone else. Second, that trans and non-binary people have always and will always exist and will not be erased. And third, that we are already and will continue to be living in a climate-changed world. Will you take a breath with me? Our opening hymn this morning is number 122 in your gray hymnal or up on the screen, Sound Over All Waters. Dale will play it through once, and then you are invited to rise in body or in spirit as we sing together.
The chalice, a cup with a stem, has been used in many faith traditions for a long time. This is why when you Google the word chalice, hoping to see beautiful Unitarian Universalist ones, you get more of a wine glass vibe. What single word do you have to add to get our symbol? What single word? Flaming. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. But why? Well, the first thing to remember anytime we talk about Unitarian Universalist history is that before 1961, there were Unitarians and there were Universalists. Our symbol begins during World War II. Early in the war, the Unitarian Service Committee was created in Boston, and they were able to rescue Jews and Unitarians from the Nazis. How did the Unitarian Service Committee manage to sneak people out of dangerous areas? Paperwork. But this paperwork was special. See, there was a whole secret network of agents in Europe ready to help the USC, but the Unitarian Service Committee was a new, unknown group who was going to have to convince a lot of people in charge that they were a legit political and religious authority. So this paperwork needed a symbol that represented Unitarians worldwide, and the symbol created would mean the difference between life and death, and it had to have meaning. So imagine you're an artist who gets that assignment. Like, no pressure, but basically draw the perfect symbol because, we've got one chance to get this right. So Reverend Charles Joy, a Unitarian minister from Boston, but then living in Europe to coordinate the USC's efforts, gave the job to an artist who had escaped the Nazis. Exactly, a refugee, that's what I was gonna say. A refugee named Hans Deutsch. Hans had some background in religious symbolism and was like, I got you. He created the first logo of the Unitarian Service Committee, which I have recreated for you. A picture of a broad chalice base on a narrow stem with a flame coming from it, with a circle around it. Rev Charles shared the symbol with the executive director of the Unitarian Service Committee in Boston. For some reason, he didn't think the committee would like it. I don't know, maybe he was just familiar with how committees can be sometimes. But he followed that by saying this: personally, I like it very much. It is simple, chaste, and distinctive. I think it might well become the sign of our work everywhere. The holy oil burning in it is a symbol of helpfulness and sacrifice. The fact, however, that it remotely suggests a cross was not in his mind, but to me, this also has merit. We do not limit our work to Christians. Indeed, at the present moment, our work is 9/10 for the Jews. Yet we do stem from the Christian tradition, and the cross does symbolize Christianity and its central theme of sacrificial love. Now, you might think we're done, but we're not. Let's check in with what a certain group of our Universalist ministers were thinking around the same time period. Universalists believed in universal salvation, meaning they thought everyone was saved from hell, but they were trying to expand their message to include the universal values that could be found in many religions. So for their sort of brand refresh, they also needed a logo. They came up with a circle with a cross in it, but the cross was off-center. This was on purpose, as they wanted to be like, yeah, Universalism has its roots in Christianity, but Christianity is not the center of its faith. There's plenty of room for new ideas and knowledge. Now we skip ahead in our story to 1961, where the Unitarians and the Universalists were like, you know what? We have so much in common. We should just merge as one religion and have a really long name. From the symbols of both Unitarianism and Universalism, we have all the ingredients we need to create the perfect symbol of Unitarian Universalism. We'll take one ring each from Unitarianism and Universalism, then we'll lock them together to represent the two faiths of the merger. Next, we'll take the flaming chalice that saved many lives, and we'll add it not to the center, but off to the side to show that we have room for new ideas and other religions as sources of inspiration for our faith. And voila, we have the flaming chalice, a beacon of hope with a history of lighting the way forward during times of oppression. Now, there's one more thing you should know. The flaming chalice stayed a flat image for at least 40 years, until sometime in the 1980s, UU kids who had long been taught this history in religious education classes were like, why don't we make the chalice 3D and light it on fire? And lots of other folks were like, yeah, let's do that. And that is why we now have hundreds of unique chalices in all our congregations that we light to show we have entered a sacred time together. It reminds us to keep showing up together, to learn and grow in community, to shine a light on injustice, and take action to save lives. Oh, I'll take applause. Yeah, it's been a week. Yeah. So in a moment, thank you. In a moment, some of us will be leaving to go to RE. But first I invite our lamplighter, Dolliv, to join me in the pulpit. A lamplighter is entrusted to transfer the light of the sanctuary chalice to the lamp, and then go forth to RE spaces where they will light the chalices there. I invite those going to RE to follow the lamplighter as we carry the flame, expanding our sacred space.
Would you join me in the spirit of prayer? Breath of life, God whose other name is love. Breathing in, we give thanks for all the joys within and among us, for all the gifts of this life, the gifts of the cosmos, for seed catalogs and dreams of springtime blossoms, even when the ground is covered in snow. Breathing out, we lift up all carrying sorrow, all in our lives who hold pieces of our hearts, all who face the days ahead with fear and worry, and the many in our world who are suffering. Breathing in, we lift up ourselves when we miss the mark, when we aren't our best selves, when we carry resentment, anger, and rage. May we remember the power of saying sorry, making amends, and forgiving others, and the power of transforming feelings into action. And when the evils of this world bring us to despair, let us breathe out so we can breathe in. The strength of communities of faith, love, and hope that stretch back thousands of years, that hold us now, that we pray will be here to hold our children's children long after we are gone. These things We pray in the name of all that is good and right and true and holy. Amen. A responsive litany. I will speak, and you are invited to respond with the words, "Nurture this precious light." How shall we begin to live out our free faith? When we do, we are beacons of freedom, creating a safe place to rest, explore, and innovate. How we keep this lamp of truth and justice affects how and whether we are transforming inequity through witness and action. As we nurture this precious light together, we become a light of hope, turning isolation into community, anguish into peace, sorrow into joy. As we do, our faith burns a steady flame of innovation, banishing illusion, creating a new and renewing way together. With our living connections, with our glowing stories, with our flame of freedom moving hand to hand, together, we turn this world from bleak to bright, one flame, one fire, one light at a time.
Now is the time in our service where we engage in the spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts support the ministries of this congregation and our work in the broader community. Each week, 1/3 of our offering is given away to a local nonprofit organization doing work to advance our shared values in the world. This month's Share the Plate recipient is Project Feed, our local emergency food pantry that offers culturally appropriate food to those in need. Donations can be made now as the basket is passed, through the donate button on our website, or if you are a member on Breeze, remembering to make note that your gift is for Share the Plate. If you are visiting us for the first time, please note that your presence is your gift to us. At this time, our offering will be collected and gratefully received. It starts with a spark. A quick flash that makes you doubt your senses. But then a tiny ember glows on the braided twine and brings a flame to life. A blurry array of pinpoint lights moves out toward the viewer. Soon you find a candle sitting on a table, desolate until its wick touches yours. And suddenly the brightness doubles. In an instant, the warmth has grown. This intensified glow draws others like a beacon, 5, 10, 50, hundreds maybe, not moths bent on self-destruction, but fellow travelers seeking the road ahead. The people begin to move forward. No matter how far the line stretches, no one is left to fend for themselves. Everyone makes progress, or no one does. In the distance, bands of other beacons now beckon, proof of other sparks that become blazes. The air crackles with anticipation as everyone approaches the center. There, the scales are balanced. There, the broken are healed. Now you know what it means to love. Now you know how to illuminate the sky.
Freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes I know.
It starts with a spark, and the intensified glow draws others like a beacon. 5, 10, 50, hundreds maybe, not moths bent on self-destruction, but fellow travelers seeking the road ahead. What is the role of the church in these times? And these, for those on the margins and for those who care about those on the margins, these are extraordinary times. The role of the church is to be a balm, to be a bridge, and to be a beacon of conscience, of truth, of reason, and courage, and welcome. As individuals and as an institution, the church, with the power of historical legacy, hundreds of years of religious, moral, and ethical teachings, and innumerable examples of contradiction, failure, and harm, the church, we, have the potential to be a beacon to the community around us. One of the best and most classic examples, look on the front of your order of service, we have of a beacon is a lighthouse, a tall structure fixed to solid ground, a rock at sea or to the shore. They have a special lens that light shines through, focusing it into a beam and turning so it can be seen from all directions. Those of us who have lived on the coast of Maine here for any length of time have probably explored at least one lighthouse. And some who have had the opportunity to navigate the coast of Maine via the sea may have even benefited from their light. Lighthouses guide ships traveling in conditions with poor visibility, sending their light out to signal the shoreline, danger, do not come here. They broadcast out vital information, a life-saving message, loud and bright, so that those who sail the seas can stay safe on course and complete their journeys. The church's role, our role of being a beacon, is quite different than acting as a balm or as a bridge. Much of the other work required of the church, happens behind the scenes, caring for one another, practicing mutual aid, repairing relationships after harm, giving generously, centering curiosity and conversations across difference, having conversations where our privilege protects us so that those farther out on the margins don't have to risk their emotional and physical well-being or safety. These can happen behind the scenes. As I said last week, there are no heroes or saviors in the work of bridge building. And if we have healthy systems and processes, we actually avoid falling into the hero-savior trap in all of our justice work. So there are no heroes or saviors in acting as a beacon either. But there is one big difference between balms, bridges, and beacons, which is that beacons cannot hide, cannot operate exclusively behind the scenes. They have to be powerful, bright, and direct. But that doesn't mean that they act in isolation, how we think of that lone lighthouse, perhaps. In fact, there are a number of beacons that can only effectively play their role in relationship with another. I have a group of friends who love to backcountry ski. Most of them have gone through special training to make sure they are as safe as possible should they encounter an avalanche. They ski with avalanche beacons. They call them AVI beacons. Small devices kept in your backpack that emit a continuous signal when in transit mode and pick up the signal of others when in search mode. In the event of an avalanche, if someone is buried in the snow, those who are with them or who know they are out in the woods can turn on their beacons to search mode and be guided to the beacon sending the signal, even when they're underneath a blanket of snow. A life-saving location broadcast. If nobody else has a beacon on to search, the transit broadcast is useless. The same is true for a set of lighthouses not too far from here that my friend and colleague, the Reverend Erica Hewitt, has written about. These are her words. I live in Bath, just a few blocks away from the powerful tidal river, the Kennebec, that snakes its way inland from the Atlantic. 2 miles from my house, she says, the river makes a squared off S that at night or in the fog is treacherous for ships sailing their way upriver. And so in 1898, twin lighthouses, the Doubling Point Range lights, were installed. If you're a ship seeking safe passage through the curve, you steer your course so that the two separate flashing lights align, one behind the other. One light is not enough to orient the ships safely. The lighthouses serve their function only in conjunction with one another, in relationship. We think of a lighthouse, a beacon, as a lone light shining into the dark. But behind every shining light and behind every outspoken voice is a whole network of players making it happen. Beacons don't act alone, but they also don't hide. There is a piece of our calling as the church that requires us to be, both individually as people and collectively as an institution, clear, outspoken, and public about who we are, what we value, and how that compels us to act. And this makes some of us in this room squirm, and I'm not talking about the babies. Some because we're conflict avoidant or shy. And others, I know there are some of you in this room, and I've been there too, others because we can't bear to admit in the public square that we are part of a church. Can't bear to admit that we are people of spiritual discipline, faith, organized religion. Can't bear to be in the presence of anything that even smells like evangelism. I've told this joke before and I'll tell it again. In my unchurched family, much harder than coming out as queer was coming out as religious. Seriously. I received messages growing up that religion was something for other people, that believing in things as outrageous as God made you less smart. Everyone in this room is smart. I know you. It's a lot sometimes. And so we know intellectually that that is not the case. But still, many of you are still in the closet about your convictions and their religious roots. And everyone's journey is different, so it's okay that our comfort level regarding talking about church and religion outside of the church are varied. Of course they are. And I want you to think about the faith communities in this country right now who are being beacons, who are shining their lights the brightest, broadcasting their message the loudest, proclaiming like a lighthouse who and what is dangerous and who and what is safe. This lighthouse has a lot of power to direct the course of a ship. And this lighthouse is directing the ship to confiscate documents from trans people trying to renew their IDs. This lighthouse is directing the ship away from basic rights and safety, is directing the ship to send ICE after our neighbors, is directing the ship to disregard basic scientific research on the environment and our health. This lighthouse, this beacon who has gained the power and claimed it to direct the direction of our country, white Christian nationalism, this beacon is the church. And so are we. We are also the church. We're not perfect, and we never will be. But we are a people that put love at the center, who hold core to our lives the values of justice and equity, pluralism and generosity, interdependence and transformation. We are a people that voted this past June at our UUA General Assembly on a business resolution proclaiming that the embrace of trans, non-binary, intersex, and gender diverse people is a fundamental expression of Unitarian Universalist religious values. To support queer folks is a fundamental expression of our faith. That hasn't been done before. In a 1967 speech delivered at Mount Zion Baptist Church in Cincinnati, Ohio, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. named that the church must be reminded that it is not the master or the servant of the state, but rather the conscience of the state. It must be the guide and the critic of the state, and never its tool. If the church does not recapture its prophetic zeal, it will become an irrelevant social club without moral or spiritual authority. The church must be the conscience of the state, the critic and the guide, must be a beacon. But we can't be a beacon if we're too afraid to name who we are and what we're about. We can't be a beacon if we see the light to those animated by values of division and individualism and power over. To be a prophetic beacon that I believe our wider community needs us to be as Unitarian Universalists requires that we, much like Charles Joy and Hans Deutsch did in creating the Unitarian Service Committee's Chalice Seal, claim and empower ourselves to speak with the same authority that those with values in opposition to ours speak with, even if our voice shakes. We have to be brave. We have to be brave to be loud and proud people and progressive, pluralistic faith havers that don't just believe in, but are animated by a vision of collective liberation. And we have to talk about it. Nobody is going to give us the microphone, the authority, hand us a light in the dark. That is ours to claim, and we must claim it. The stakes are too high to keep quiet. And yes, this does put us at risk. Episcopal bishop gone viral, the Right Reverend Marian Beauty, who preached a prophetic and pointed word at the inaugural prayer service earlier this week, pleading to the president to have mercy on immigrants and trans and non-binary kids and all those who are afraid right now, who acted as a beacon of truth. She has been ripped to shreds by those who oppose her message. She has received death threats. Ironically, or maybe not actually, I learned from my Christian clergy friends that the lectionary passage this week, the assigned biblical text that Protestants preach from each week, is a story from the Gospel of Luke where Jesus preaches a prophetic message of justice, and the same thing happens. I'm going to read it to you because it's just ridiculous. Chapter 4, verse 28 through 30, direct quote. When they heard his message, all in the synagogue were filled with rage. They got up, drove him out of the town, and led him to the brow of the hill on which their town was built, so that they might hurl him off the cliff. To speak the truth, live our values as we move through life, not just in the unspoken, quiet ways, but also in what we say, to whom we say it, and how loud. This requires bravery, and it requires risk. And not everyone is able to take on that risk. In particular, those holding identities, putting them at increased danger of violence and harm. But many of us can and need to. In Dr. King's words, I hope the church as a whole will meet the challenge of this decisive hour. And I believe that when you try, you will find that there is a spark in your spirit, in your heart, that like the flame of our chalice is ready to ignite. And in the words of the poet, in the distance, bands of other beacons now beckon, proof of other sparks that became blazes. The air crackles with anticipation as everyone approaches the center. And there, the scales are balanced. There, the broken are healed. And then we know what it means to be love. And then we know how to illuminate the sky. May it be so. Amen. Let's sing. Our closing hymn is in your teal hymnal, number 1028, or up on the screen, The Fire of Commitment. Dale's going to play it through once, but it's fast, so you might as well stand up now. And after he's played it through once, let's sing together. connections. With our living connections, with our glowing stories, with our flame of freedom moving hand to hand, we nurture this precious light. And together we turn this world from bleak to bright, one flame, one fire, one light at a time. Our worship has ended, and our service begins. With your fire burning bright, friends, go in love.